How to set up scan to email with your new Toshiba. This will work on the 901s, 905s, 1105s, 1355s, and 1351. So, of course, first thing you need to find out what's the IP address of the machine. Find the IP, open up a browser, internet browser, put the IP on the address bar up here, click enter on your keyboard, and you're at the web interface. Once you get here, on the right corner, click on login. We need to be in the admin mode to do this. So by default, the username is admin with a lowercase a, no password. By default, these machines do not come with a password. So click on login. Let's give it a second. It will log in here. Once you get into the admin mode, we're going to look at a couple things to make sure the scan to email is configured correctly. Look for the link that says configuration. On the configuration, first thing I'd like for you to check the date and time on the machine. Nowadays, with the new servers, new Exchange servers, you gotta make sure the time is uh, pretty much dead on, no more than 5 minutes off. So make sure the time, the date, everything's correct on the copier. Also, give yourself a time zone. If you're in the West Coast, for us is -8. Once that's configured, click OK. You confirm your time is OK. The next step is basically look for the link that says you're still in the configuration option. Look for the link that says email. Click on the email link. Here we go. So now you do need to give the machine an email. So if you're using again one of the new servers, I suggest you use a valid email address. So put an email here. Next step is basically reception. If you see this option here, not to worry, the machine does not use POP3, so it's not utilized, so leave it the way it is. By default, that doesn't change. This is what you are concerned of, the SNTP. In here, you're going to put the name of your SNTP server, your email server. This information, of course, your IT will have, so email server will go here. The port number will be here. By default, is 25. You might be using an encrypted port, let's say 465, or some other port that's going through your email server. So this port must be here. Next one is basically the authentication. Now, many servers, depending how your Exchange server or email server is configured, you might need to authenticate. This particular server, this particular user, is not using any authentication, so it's turned off, and that's all they need to get the machine to work. But if you do need to authenticate, you got to make sure you turn the feature on. You got to put a username here, an account here, and a password. So, I'm sorry, actually, the email address. You have to put an email address here. Okay, so you're going to put the name of the server. If you're authenticating, the email address here. And then this in here, you will put a username to authenticate to the server. Now, you don't have to troubleshoot this to see which option works with the copier to get it to scan to email. So if you have a username and the password, you have to click on this icon, and then you will get another icon, another box to enter the password. Since if you are using authentication, here it is. So I'm going to give it the password for this user. So basically, it's an account that the machine is going to use to authenticate to your email server, so it allows for the email to go through. The SNTP authentication encryption. Now, this is another settings you need to play with. You can leave it to auto select. POP for SNTP. Make sure this is turned off. The machine does not use this feature, so leave the POP for SNTP turned off. Do not turn it on. We do not need that. Next steps, basically everything else stays by default. Leave the port numbers the way they are, and that's how you configure your scan to email from the Toshiba copier on this particular model. So keep in mind, again, on the email settings, you need an email here. This particular reception, just leave the settings the way they are. You don't have to do anything here. This is what your concern is. This, make sure there's a name here for your email exchange. You can also add the IP address here if you like. Make sure you have the correct port number. If you are authenticating, I do suggest start with no authentication. Just put no authentication, leave it off. On the SMTP authentication email address, I would suggest also put an email here. Okay, and then save those settings. Once you save it, at the bottom, click OK, save it, log out, and then go ahead and test it at the copy. If that doesn't work, just come back in here. You most likely need to turn on the authentication. Leave the email there, and again, it has to be a valid email. Put it in a user account. Now the username will be either, again, depending how your exchange is set up, it might be have to use the entire email account or just the username account, or you go with the domain / username and put in the correct password. This is how you configure scan to email on this Toshiba copier. Thank you.